just lack the will to want to do it. I want to break down the importance of being born again and a new creature, because a lot of times, especially if you're coming from the false doctrine of Christianity, when someone says they're born again and they've been made new, they think that just because they say it that they are. When the Messiah gave the parable of that you must be born again, and then I believe it was Nostradamus who asked him, so am I supposed to crawl back in my mother's uterus and like go back out again? And the Messiah's like, no. Like, to be born again, the water being baptized is a physical representation in the spiritual of you saying, I am going through the birth canals to be born again, and now I know who my teacher is. I know who my Father is. I know who I'm going to be taught from, which is the Word made flesh. And with you knowing that at your big grown age, being born again, you now have the heart and the will and the want to be instructed by Yahuah, which you probably didn't have before. And the problem that we run into with Christianity is once you've been baptized, no one tells you to start at the beginning like a child. No one tells you to drink the milk, which is the word, which is the Torah, which is the laws, the statutes, the commandments, because in the deceivableness of Christianity, you have been taught to throw it away. But in order to be born again, you have to have a heart that is willing to do the wills and the ways of the Father. And you will not know how to do the wills and the ways of the Father if you are not taught like a child, like an infant, to enjoy, to love the sincerity of the milk. You have not been taught, you have not ingested the good word of Yah. You have not tasted and seen that it is good because you are not born again in your mind. You have already told yourself by false teachers and false pastors and preachers and Christian doctrine that the word, that the laws of God are a curse. So therefore you have not been made new in your heart and in your mind, because you are still refusing the word, the instructions of your heavenly Father. So you have another authority that is teaching you. But if you're a newborn child, you only have your mother's milk. You only have what comes from the instruction. Because really, we can stop saying law. Torah just means the instructions, the blueprint of what your heavenly Father is telling you, a child, an infant, what is good, what is clean, what is appropriate, what is holy, what is going to be for your restoration, for your revival. But you're still holding on to a false authority. You're still holding on to the doctrines of devils telling you that is, you don't need the instructions of the Heavenly Father, that they are somehow impossible to do when His Word says otherwise. So, if you are a new creature, the new creature part is that your heart is now inclined to say yes, to be obedient, and to walk in what the Father is revealing to you in His Word. Which is why it's important for us saying that we're born again and that we're new creatures to go to the beginning as newborn children. Start at level 1. So being born again and being a new creature is that you are humbled and surrendered enough to say, everything I thought I knew is wrong. Let me start in Genesis and see what my Father has to say about it. And whatever He says, I'm going to do. Because that's why He, the other parable, you have to enter the kingdom like a child, an obedient child who heeds the word of his mother and his father. But y'all are a whole bunch of teenagers out here. When the word of the Father is revealed to you, when Yahuah is speaking through His Torah, through His instructions, through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, all the prophets, you're like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. So you're not really born again. You've just been born into a rebellious phase, shouting that you're born again and you've been made new. Because we really don't understand what it really means to be born again. Because it's been taught to you by a Christian perspective that does not know, it has not tasted that the ways of Yahuah are good. They haven't tasted it, they haven't tried, they have no willingness to do so, because they've already made up in their mind that they don't have to do what the Heavenly Father, Yahuah, has told them to do. So therefore, they are refusing to be made new. They are refusing the new heart. And they're not in the new covenant. Because the new covenant is that your heart is going to do, it's going to be the statutes, the laws, the commandments will be written on your heart, and you're actually going to walk in them. You're actually going to do them, and you're going to love them, and He's going to be your Elohim. So if you're refusing, if you already made up in your mind that you're not going to do the commandments, that they're evil and that they're putting yourself in a curse, you've not been made new. You still have a heart of stone. Sorry to tell you. And the reason why entering into the kingdom like a child is so important is because as you begin to walk on the narrow path, as you begin to walk and learn the ways of Yahuah, as you begin to keep the Sabbath, honor the feast days, eat clean, love your neighbor as yourself, understanding the prophetic importance of being obedient like a child, allowing the word to wash you like a child. If any of you have children or if you've been around children, when they start learning how to walk, they stumble. But they keep trying, and they get older, and they get more mature. When you start trying to potty train, they're peeing on themselves, they're boobing on them. It's messy. It's unclean at first, but as they mature, they learn how, oh, this feeling, I should probably go to the toilet and sit on the potty. Now I'm peeing in the potty. Okay, I don't know how to wipe myself yet. Okay, I'm learning how. At first, my teacher or my instructor are those who are actually walking in Torah, teach me how to wipe my own butt. Like a parent, you teach your child how to wipe their butt when they have a boo-boo. At first, you're doing it for them for a while. And then you show them how to do it themselves. And then they get older and they figure out how to do it themselves. And you're walking in the narrow path. It's the same way when we apply walking in Yahuwah's instructions. When we start walking in his laws, his statutes, and his commandments, as we first get started, we may, okay, I really don't know how I'm supposed to do Pastor. Let me read it this way. And every year, I get more mature in my understanding. I get more mature in the revelation. But I'm not going to get the revelations of the understanding of how good it is and how awesome and how holy and how set apart all of this is unless I'm actively trying to do it. And what Christianity has done has told people, you don't have to do it. You're already perfect. You're already perfected. You're already a new creature without having to do anything. It's lazy. It's sinful. It's lawlessness. So now that you understand what it really means to be made new and to be a new creature and to walk the narrow path, walking is an action word. Obedience is an action word. Faith is an action word. Obedience, love is an action word. The same way that we go after the degrees and masters and doctorates and PhDs and all these other educational accolades, we have to apply. It's the same application when it comes to walking in holiness, walking out your salvation, is that when you stumble, that is where grace covers you. It is not the absence of trying to walk in his ways. It is you get grace when you are walking in his ways, because you are, I fell back down. A righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. That is the totality of the wisdom in these utterances. They know that. The apostles, the disciples, they know that because they walked into where they understood. There's nothing I can do that can make me righteous. But as I'm walking on this righteous path, if I fall down, it is the blood of Yahushua the Messiah that cleanses me so I can keep going without the threat of death looming over me. Walking in his commandments is not a curse, it's a blessing. The curse of death, the law of death, has been removed. Not so that I can eat the way I want, I can cuss, I can disregard all the Father's holy days, I can be a rebellious child and just say, close the front of the book, I'm done. No, if you're born again and you're made new and you're a new creature, you need to start at the beginning. Like a child, like a baby, like an infant who knows nothing. The only thing that you know as a child, as an infant, is what your mother and your father give you. But we have a generation of people who refuse what their father is giving them. So they're not really new creatures. They're just masquerading as new creatures. Because a true new creature, true born again child of the Most High, is going to say, let me see what my father says about this. And once you've been confronted with the conviction and what the word says, and it doesn't line up with what your pastor is saying, what your church is saying, what your favorite apostle is saying, you shut their mouths up and you say, well, this is what my heavenly Father has said, and he said that he doesn't change, and so you're the only one that's saying that it's changed. And if I think I'm misunderstanding Paul, it's because I don't know the word. We have to be humble. If you're going to be a child, you have to be easily ready to be corrected. It's really not hard. Walking in obedience, walking in Torah is not hard. It is all the liars who say that it's hard. It is all the devils that say that it's hard. It is all the deceived who tell you that it's hard. It's not hard. You just lack the will to want to do it.